Wednesday, May the 24th, 2023, and I'm back at Brandon on the Suffolk-Norfolk border. I said a couple of months ago I had another walk lined up here. Been waiting for the longer days, and today's we have one. It's a country walking magazine, 13-mile circular or thereabouts of Brandon and Hockwold down near Lakenheath. So a fairly long one today. It's 12 noon now. Should be about 5 hours walking and allowing for stops, etc. Probably around 6 hours walking, so I need to be on the 6:15 train for sure. So the weather today is pretty decent. Sunny intervals. There is a bit of a northerly breeze. At the moment, northerly, northwesterly. Switching to northeasterly later. And I am probably going to encounter some cattle from the notes I've read. So that's not good news. That could hold me up. Anyway, as you can see here, since the last visit, platform 1 is now being refurbished, probably being reflinted, I'd have thought. Let's see how that pans out. So as I say, let's crack on, see what awaits. Always like to confirm where I am. So I've just left the Norfolk part of today's walk. Just passing the Ram Inn. Sandy path ahead of me here. Alongside an information panel about Brecks. First pillbox of the day. And the Ram Inn appears to have a nice garden there. So moments after leaving the station, we're hopefully now out into open countryside. I've got the Little Ouse River on my left, and this certainly looks like decent cuckoo territory. Whether we'll hear one though or not at this time of year. Certainly hearing plenty of ambulances. If I remember correctly, that's a Buick. Straighter neck, orange beak on its nest. Unusual warbler in there, of the kind that I heard last week down at Faversham and couldn't identify either. And talking of Faversham, last week's walk, we have similar heights today, i.e. very flat, with a height variation of 5 foot to 77 foot. Very similar to last week, as I say. Passing over Brandon Staunch, which as you can see is essentially a lock. Onward journeys past some allotments on my left, over another small footbridge towards these allotments here, where I believe we go left. Now, as you can hear, unfortunately I've chosen a day when Lakenheath is in action. I seem to recall this when I did a walk up here previously. I believe that was a Wednesday. So 5 so far of those supersonic jets have just taken off. Of the kind that Vladimir wishes to have. Anyway, hopefully that's that for now, but let's see. So over another small footbridge where we do a right through willows, having just passed the allotments. And this path has certainly been well maintained, as you can see. Don't know if they'll all be like that today, but let's await and pass comment later. Classic Breckland scenery here, horse grazing amongst the woodlands, the open spaces, that is. Wonderful. Now following the sandy small fen lane for a couple of 100 yards, aiming towards these Scots pines here, and we're actually on the Hereward Way, which I've mentioned before, long distance trail, which if I recall starts in Peterborough. Anyway, you can search for that. High-tech lock keeping. Yeah, somebody living in there as well by the looks of it. Train just going past in the distance. There is said rail line, the one I came on. Plenty of black caps, white throats thus far. A couple of swallows seen. And as I expected, there's a cuckoo calling in the distance. You probably won't be able to hear that, but I'm doing well for cuckoo calls this year. And a white throat there as well. Now following the appropriately named Sandy Drove on the map. And I'm doing this in a clockwise direction today using the GPX track, and some partial notes that come with the walk as well, which are quite helpful. The old Chiff Chaff still singing. So as you can see, we're still in Suffolk, and I have commented on their good work in the past. Down at Shotley. Now following this byway for a couple of miles, as another load of jets have just gone over. So as we walk down what is known as Chalk Road, interestingly enough, it's amazing how over the last few weeks the puddles and mud have disappeared, and I suspect this could well be the pattern until the autumn now. Yeah, it's not looking too rosy on the crop front. Very dry at the moment. I've already seen the sprinklers out on my way up here near Ely. Passing Pitt Cottage down that lane there, which tells you something about the area, particularly as there's also a farm called Limekiln Farm not too distant from here on the map as well. Very close to the rail line here. There's another load of jets take off. Doesn't seem to affect the wildlife too badly though. They've obviously got used to it, unlike me. So as you can see here in the shade of this tree, the sun hasn't managed to dry this out yet, but an example of what it could have been like during the wetter months. Today's death looks like a carrion crow, possibly bird flu or old age. Doesn't look to have been damaged in any way. Haven't had a death for a couple of weeks. You can just make out through the hedge here, Limekiln Farm is a massive pig farm. Chiff Chaff in song. and warning note. Of course, the omnipresent jets in the background. There you get a better view of the factory farm that is, pig-wise. Massive. Amazing chunk of beach come down here. I think that hare has got a set near here, if that's what you call their nest. Ran out the hedge when it saw me, but hasn't ventured very far. So somewhere alongside here, I think, is the nest. So you can just make out in the distance there, spraying going on already. End of May. And then the water companies want to charge us for their mess in the rivers. Absolutely outrageous. As Fergal Sharkey says, they should be paying for that. We're paying top dollar standing charges. And that money should be going towards pipe repair, effluent provision, etc. Crossing over a channel from the Little Ouse. Two-car East Midlands Railway unit. Get trains from Norwich up to Liverpool and Manchester from this region. Interestingly, a second, that looks like a hooded crow or jackdaw. I think it's a hooded crow, but that makes me think it's bird flu as opposed to old age. So we've just passed Hiss Farm, owned by Greenheath Farming Company Limited, a reflection of the industrial farming that goes on in this area. Passing the very little used Lakenheath station, which is only open at weekends presently. It would make an appropriate finale for those that wish to finish the walk early. We're 5 miles in approximately at the moment. And that is a very busy road, of which you have to walk alongside an unpaved section for a couple of 100 yards. So be careful on that bit. Muntjac stealthily crossing the path ahead. And that is our onward journey actually. So coming from Lakenheath station, follow these purple signs apparently. 10-minute walk now. Coming up 2 o'clock, I'll make a judgment on whether to have my lunch here, depending on the quality of the picnic area, or at the church I was intending. Let's see. So I filmed an artificial owl last week in Whitstable. Here's another one. See, there's one or two tables here near the car park. And a bench up here overlooking the reserve. So I understand you can hear bitterns booming here. That'd be a first for me. Still haven't heard one. There are toilets and a small cafe here. View from the visitor centre. Great tip booming in the background. Well, not booming, that's what the bittern does. But unlikely to hear one of those today. So I've decided to press on and have my lunch in the usual position of the church at Hockwold. Or Hockwold even, is what I meant to say. The lady in the visitor centre was saying they've got a couple of cranes nesting at the moment. And there are hobbies around. Love to see one of them. They feed on dragonflies and even swallows, believe it or not. They're that nimble and fast. But no, I haven't got time to walk round the reserve today, which, as I say, is something I'll probably be doing when I get a bit older. Can't do these long walks anymore. Shame. But that's the future, I believe. So in the last couple of months we've been to Falmere, RSPB reserve, Sea Salter last week, and now this one, Lakenheath. But how it survives next to the air base beats me. So I'm now on the family trail through the reserve per the notes, and there are one or two cattle in the field opposite. Sorry, next door, but that's not part of the RSPB reserve apparently. It's not a great big herd either, so hopefully that'll be it for today, because the notes do refer to cows in fields. Don't know what that is over there. Some kind of goose, I think. So it seems you can no longer turn or continue straight on up to the embankment. Luckily it's just been rerouted slightly. Slightly different to the GPX track, that's all. So up here now to the riverbank path. Plenty of reed warblers in there, possibly sedge. Another dodgy bit of road walking as we re-enter Norfolk. Over this very old bridge, over the Ouse. Follow this bridle way, taking us to Ouse Bungalow Farm. So at the moment there's some kind of wiring here across the path. Let's see if there's a way over it. So there are some big beasts about, which I've got to pass in a minute. Yeah. I should be walking over that sluice gate there. There's cattle blocking that, and a bull on the path as well. So I'm not going to chance my arm with that lot. Now back on track, hopefully going down Moor Drove East. So that's where I would have come out had I gone past the cattle, and that would have taken about 10 minutes. Because of that bull, I had to reroute, probably adding about 3/4 of a mile onto my journey. Good quarter of an hour, 20 minutes lost here. And there is a sluice that I was stood next to. Can't see the cattle, mind. Now turning left into Church Lane per the map. Entering the churchyard at St James's Church. There are two here apparently, and this is the better of the two, which is en route. So here we are, St James's, Hockwold cum Wilton is the village name. Church is open, but I'm going to get fed first. Sounds like the village school is just behind the cemetery, so it might be the quietest lunch stop. Well, I've never encountered this before. There are two seats in this cemetery, and the one I was going to sit on, in loving memory of Jasmine Lorraine Grass, who died just 2 years back, just been painted. So I'll have to go and sit on the other dirtier version. This one, bit of a contrast, and the nameplate, look, has clearly disappeared. The dedication plaque. Okay, 4:15, lunch has been had. Time to press on. Let's have a quick look in the church. Well, it's not open. Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah. Right, so no internal inspection today. Nice enough place. A large church as well, particularly the tower. Passing the Red Lion, which is another lunchtime option. Some ancient kind of monument here. No inscription though. Field of hay's just been cut here. Wonderful aroma. As we now turn left into Mill Drift on the map. Okay, we come off this sandy lane now and follow a similar sandy path through woodland apparently. And this plantation is known as 40 acre plantation per the map. Mainly Scots pine by the looks of it, which obviously grows well on this sandy soil. Talking of which, it makes walking underfoot pretty good. Not as hard going as last week on the residential streets and seawall. Black cap there. Possibly a... no, it's definitely a black cap. Followed by a wren. Now, is that one of our little roe deer? Not in a herd, so it's not fallow. Possibly some spots on its back. Certainly not a monkjack. So yeah, I reckon that's a roe, being a small one. Following a path here to something called the broom belt ahead of us there. And a lot of these paths are not shown on the map as being public access, but nonetheless certainly appear to be so. Open access type situation, and there are very few footpath markers, so it's very useful to have the GPX track on this walk for sure. Classic Breckland scenery here, not dissimilar to the New Forest in some ways. Now I see quite a few rabbits here, but as I've mentioned in the past, this was the stronghold for rabbits, the Brecks, and even up here they're in decline apparently, which may explain why they appear to be fenced in unusually. There may be some breeding campaign going on to try and get their numbers up, because they too are struggling with habitat loss. So we're now crossing Hockwold Heath ahead of us. Search for that online if you'd like to know more. And as you can hear in the background, there are a number of wild ponies. Again, bringing back similarities of the New Forest. Taking shelter from the heat over there. So this is Weeting Heath National Nature Reserve, and there's 5 of these white cattle over there. Not sure what they are, but clearly bought for conservation purposes, I would have thought. And luckily on the other side of the fence. Now entering Belvedere Wood on the map. A pleasantly cooling section this, after being out on the heath. Now walking down Pilgrim's Way, Weeting, which is where we were last time I did a Brandon walk. So there will be possibly some duplication coming up soon. So henceforth is duplication, as at this juncture there was a burger van here, I recall, just passing the Bowls Club. One mile to Brandon railway station now. Headed towards Fengate Drove, leaving Weeting behind us. And for those that are interested, steam rally coming up. Always a good laugh they are. Looks like an early participant there. Past the shed manufacturers and the light industrial area of Brandon. That site still hasn't been developed since I was last here, next to this strange church. Now going back into Suffolk as we reach the station. So here we are, back at Brandon, 13.8 miles later, 4 hours 58, and I've managed to stick an extra mile on that walk, it being about 12.5 originally, by having to avoid those cattle with their calves and a bull in the field. So I will report that to Norfolk along with the fence. Taking a photo of that, ready to go on What 3 Words. Very good walk otherwise though. That little section after RSPB, Lakenheath, along the dodgy road, and the fenced off section with the cattle in the way was the only problem. Initially jet noise was a hindrance, but that soon dissipated. Didn't turn out to be much more in the afternoon, thankfully, but otherwise a very good walk. Excellent weather, reached about 20 degrees today, and the northerly breeze has been thankfully received. So that was Country Walking Magazine's Brandon and Hockwold circular. I'll call it Lakenheath. Completed. Till the next time.